around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling? Welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back. Yeah, back.
What's up, everybody? Hardest part of the ring is here once again to bless your RSS feed, to bless your YouTube, or to bless your OnlyFans tier 3. Whatever you're listening to this on, there is so much goddamn noise around. Do you hear that shit? I got a cat meowing in one ear. I got motorcycles in the other. Oh, are you fucking me in my ass? Anyways. Progress Chapter 11, titled "To Fight War, You Must Become War." I'm sure that's a reference to something, probably something British, so I don't really care about it. Anyway, that's just to rib all of my my listeners across the pond. Across the pond. Cricket. So Progress Chapter 11 is, I actually have just a few minutes ago finished watching it, and man, Progress is such an easy watch, dude. Like, if you're not on this train yet, or if you're like caught up and you want to go back and relive the old days, I strongly recommend it, man. And that's not just because I'm doing podcast episodes on it. It truly is like a true alternative today. And like I said, it's a quick, it's 2 hours, but it flew by. It's just really, really good wrestling. I know that's almost like a boring thing to say as a wrestling podcaster. I know you want to hear me talk about Bob Backlund's dick and Hulk Hogan being all sweaty, Jeff Jarrett bleeding in every match, the Christopher Street connection, walking backstage, eating bananas. But dude, Progress Chapter 11 is just a really good wrestling show. I highly recommend it. You can watch all these shows on demand at demandprogress.pivotshare.com. That is basically their on-demand site that has all their chapters on it. They offer a free trial, I believe. I forget if it's 2 weeks or a month. But they offer some sort of free trial, and honestly, I mean, it's like $7 a month for all of this. It's Progress plus some other promotions that they have. I already got RN, the guy that was on Chapter 10 with me. I already got him hooked on it, and I highly recommend it. I don't, obviously not sponsored by them or anything, nor do I don't think I want to be right now. But definitely some good wrestling there. I highly recommend. Go check that shit out, and check this shit out too. I brought back Dave from the RA Era Podcast. That's the Ruthless Aggression Era Podcast. A hilarious, awesome podcast. He puts a lot of work into it. It has clips from the show embedded in the audio, as well as clips on YouTube of the shows. As the title suggests, it kind of goes through the Ruthless Aggression Era in WWE. So just like this podcast, it's a journey, and it's a fun one for sure. Had a lot of fun with him on my Unforgiven 2001 episode as well. If you haven't listened to that, definitely check that one out as well. And also, speaking of things to check out, me and Dave did an episode of his podcast. He had me on his podcast, and we did an episode on velocity and heat. Yes. Yes, it's just as ridiculous as it sounds, so that's why you should check it out. It's the episode from February 6th, 2021. So much fun, dude. Go check. I'll probably link that in the description if I remember to do so. But go check that out. Go check him out. And check this out while you're at it. You're already fucking listening to it, so why wouldn't you check it out? Unless you're an asshole or something. But yeah, man, let's get right into it, man. We are fresh off the Jimmy Havoc heel turn. We got a title match in the main event. We got the Natural Progression Tournament, the second version kicking off. We got a tag title tournament. We got so much fun stuff on this show. Let's get into it. Progress Wrestling, Chapter 11, with myself and Dave from the RA Era Podcast. Some simpler times here back in 2014. Did you get a chance to check out the show? Chapter 11?
I did. I felt a bit dirty.
It was one of them where stuff.
It was one of them where you expect it to come with a health warning, and then when you go to Progress's page, it actually does come with a health warning.
Right.
But what you kind of got fair props to them is that they're not just saying there might be some people on this video that you might not want to watch. They're actually telling you why. I was impressed that they actually mentioned the whole speaking out movement, because for those that might not be familiar with the whole movement itself, it does gauge some media attraction for it. So somebody may then Google it or may search up the term speaking out, and because it is a bit grim.
It is. I mean, I would say majority of the card are probably people that were implicated by it, right?
Yeah, it was.
There's even some that I hadn't known of previously that I learn every episode of just another guy.
I just remember watching it unfold on social media, and it was just another person. And like for me, social media is so bad. It's like 90% bad. But the 10% that it can be good for, it does now give people a platform to be heard and a voice to be heard. Where many years ago, like, cast your mind back to all the stories you hear of all like the ring rats from the 80s and the 90s. So like, if you hear like a Kevin Nash speak about the ring rats, you hear, they kind of speak about it in a jovial, it's banter, it's mate sort of way. But how many of these women were actually doing what they were doing on their own accord? Or how many were being passed around or made? If you want to progress in the wrestling business, you've got to sleep with Big Sexy.
Yeah, especially with somebody with that kind of power.
Yeah,
it's funny. I was just talking with some people recently about like bra and panties matches, because I've done a few reviews. I don't know if there was one on this show we did together, but during that era they were all over the place.
Oh yes,
and that's like a big thing, because it's like there's so much pressure behind the scenes to do that kind of stuff. Like, of course you could say no, but if you say no, I mean, you pretty much lose your spot.
What happens to your career? Exactly.
We've
just taken a look at the WWE Diva Desert Heat, which is the swimsuit calendar Diva magazine from 2003, where it's just all the divas in their bikinis being bent over various objects. And just
with porn for me back then,
with these cameramen who come across so sleazy and so perverted with the words, and just not just the words, how they're saying simple words. And it's like back then, I would have been like, yeah. And well, to be fair, still now I was like, yeah, boobs.
Yeah.
But it's so sleazy and grimy. And it's like, if Vince turns around and says, well, if you're not doing it, somebody else will take your place. And a place on a roster within WWE is so vital, but to a wrestler that's trying to climb the ladders of the wrestling ladder, even, I'll get my words out in a minute, and they're starting in a company like Progress, and then to being told the same thing, well, look, if you're not if you don't get on your knees, lass, then you won't succeed here, and then you won't succeed anywhere. That's some fucking pressure.
Yeah, and here in Progress, it's kind of more behind the scenes stuff, I guess, unless there's stuff later when they start bringing in the women, because there's not women's matches at this point.
So is it Progress or is it Progress?
So I say Progress. I'm sure it's Progress, but I feel like a phony if I feel like I'm trying to put on an accent.
I feel like it's Progress, but I feel like it sounds better if we say Progress.
See, out of your mouth, it kind of sounds the same. But see, I feel like I've said Progress too many times. This is probably like my 5th or 6th episode on this, so it's like I can't just be a cheap piece of shit and just adopt it. That's cultural appropriation, Dave. You understand? Can't have that.
Just call it P wrestling.
Yeah, the wrestling of the rapers or whatever.
Oh Fucking hell.
Anyways, any hoozle. I guess I'll ask you real quick. Did you, by any chance, catch Raw last night?
I did.
Did you see the bit with Braun Strowman?
Are you on about the sound effects?
Well, I was just gonna ask you because before we get into this episode here, just a warning that this will be some raucous commentary. Oh, here it comes. Do you hear it? Oh, you better watch out, listeners. Anyways,
there goes the Braun Express.
I was almost late to this because I just thought of that. It's like I can't not do that. But yeah, man, progress. So I think we talked about this offline last time we did an episode. But you're pretty much caught up on progress, right?
I've dabbled. Yeah. I wouldn't say I was a diehard, not in the slightest. But I've dabbled. This is a bit kind of before my time. I've dabbled in progress maybe in the last, I don't know, like 4 years, where maybe this is like the last 6 years. So this is just a little bit before my time. But there was maybe 3 people on the roster that I was like, who the fuck are you?
Right, exactly.
So there was a lot of familiar faces, a hell of a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar fucking sex offenders and all.
But we don't talk about that. We'll talk about old shit on this podcast.
No.
But yeah, chapter 11. Just for context, this is fresh off of Jimmy Havoc's heel turn. Which were you watching during that time, or did you hear about it? No,
not at all. It was all like I know of Jimmy Havoc mainly through going back and seeing videos of Jimmy Havoc, and I never really watched him for a prolonged period of time in a said promotion. So yeah, storylines wise, apart from him being quite the mental bastard, storylines wise, I'm absolutely, you need to fill in these gaps.
So I only know where we're at up to this point in chapter 11, but basically he started out as this plucky underdog, this deathmatch guy who was kind of a fish out of water in progress. But he was there to kind of prove himself as more of a technical wrestler and somebody that can kind of hang with that British catch style in wrestling, and that he wasn't just a barbed wire thumbtacks kind of guy. So he had a few matches. He lost like his first 5 matches, and then just getting put in death matches and stuff like that. And ultimately that made him snap because he kind of felt like he was being treated as a mascot or just a body that you can throw into barbed wire and fire and all that shit. So he attacked the owner of Progress in the middle of the ring with a steel chair, with a pink steel chair. That's an important detail. And now he's just a dastardly heel. He's yelling at fans that saying he's going to slit their throats, and he's going to, all the usual stuff, right? Just wrestling stuff. And now we're here, basically. So he just won the title, the Progress title. So it was a lot of shenanigans in the last chapter. Basically, he came out after a match, and I guess he had a contract to a title match. I don't really understand where he got it from. It was kind of almost like a Money in the Bank kind of deal. But he basically came out after a match and just pinned the guy in the middle of the ring. Poured gasoline on him, threatened to light him on fire. Just like I said, normal wrestling stuff. And then he won the title.
If you're gonna be a heel, threatening to cut the fans' throats and pouring petrol on people, gasoline. Right. That's the way to do it. That's the way to go.
Sometimes you just got to make it clear. There's no shades of gray here. Murder. So that's where we're at now. This chapter was his first title defense, and so the show opens up. Was basically like kind of a video recap, kind of an overview of that. Really liked kind of.
It was a great video because, like I said, for someone like me who was looking for gaps to be filled in, it did a little job. He kind of give you the idea that Jimmy Havoc, like as you said, he wanted to be. I'm going to be a bastard, and this is the various ways of look. I am a bastard.
Exactly, it's this reign of terror, is how I've heard it described to me before. But that'll be the main event. But in the first match, we have a tag team match. So this is a semifinal match in the tag team title tournament to crown the first ever Progress. I don't know how to say it. I'm going to say it differently every time now. The first ever Progress tag team champions. So we have Screw Indy Wrestling, which is a great
name.
And
which is a great name.
They're, like I said, again, no shades of gray there. You understand what they're about. So we got a Nathan Cruz and Mark Haskins versus the team of Dave Mastiff and Stixx. You familiar with Stixx at all?
No, I actually thought when I looked, because I looked at the match card screen, I thought it was a typo, and I thought it was X-Pac.
Oh, he's very, very not X-Pac.
No, he wasn't. I was not a fan of. I'm not familiar. Not a fan. Mark Haskins knew of from TNA boot camp days, and obviously from what further on going on down the line, NXT UK and all that stuff. And Dave Mastiff, very familiar with that big bastard. He is a big burly bastard. Nathan Cruz, again, someone not familiar with. I liked how he was a chicken shit heel. I thought he played that role perfectly, but Stixx, fucking
not much, just a big slab of meat. That guy,
just a bit of beef.
Exactly, but yeah, Nathan Cruz was the first ever Progress champion, and it seemed like they were putting the rocket on him at first, but now he's kind of I want to say just a tag team guy, but he's definitely in that tag team division kind of role here. And yeah, like you said, Dave Mastiff, anybody that watches NXT UK is very familiar with old Bomber / Bastard. But before the match, so screw Indy Wrestling, they're heels, so they don't let the normal announcer announce them. They have a stand-in, basically Kmart version of Vicky Guerrero. is what I got from it. What you think of her whole little deal there in the beginning, announcing them? Could you reenact it for me, please?
No, no, not in the slightest. I don't know. I think she was there. Yeah, she was there. I would just get on with the wrestling. Yeah, she was just there.
I felt like it went on forever, but
it was a long. I understand what it was trying to build a heat on them and stuff, but it felt like a long segment for what should be a pay-per-view and not a TV taping.
Exactly.
And it was a TV taping opening after such a solid video package as well that got you hyped for the pay-per-view. It was like, let's listen to this fucking bird whine on for 5 minutes. And it was like easily 5-6 minutes as well. It went on for a long time.
Easily. Just sitting there in a pantsuit and get out of there, you fucking twat. But the match itself was pretty solid. It was an opening match. Both the heels attack Stixx before Dave can get out there. Dave Mastiff takes a sweet old time getting to the ring to save him. But as the match really gets underway, the two big guys, the two big lads, they are dominating because they're big. Both heels are absolutely terrified to get in the ring with Dave Mastiff. Just looks like a beast here. They pretty much dominate, the big guys do, until Haskins turns the tide with a poke to the eye because heel. And other than that, really good match.
I thought I counted about 30 plus seconds of the hanging vertical suplex.
Yes,
I thought that was a great spot. It's because for someone the size of Mastiff, it's just easy to pick up on a little guys, and I'll hold you for half an hour. And it's just as simple as the spot is. It still makes, for me, I always go back to British Bulldog as a child.
Right,
that was one of his go-to moves, holding whoever he could up for X amount of time. I know he had the added enhancements of the ICO Pro to help him hold the guys up in the air. Where Mastiff, it's just a piece of piss. He's a big lad, but it's still a great visual. I could sit here for 20 minutes, keep the bastard up in the air. I'd stay here for
you
20
guys.
Minutes.
Y'all over there love that shit, right? It's like doing a sharpshooter in Canada. It's like an easy pop.
Mate, that still gets a pop in my house. A running power slam, I still go British Bulldog.
There it is. But yeah.
But nobody ever does the Wasteland by Wade Barrett, by the way. No one
There's
ever.
There's a good reason. People tend to do moves that look like they hurt.
It's not a British heritage as much as British Bulldog is. He's old Wade Barrett's Wasteland. But sorry, moving on.
No, please. Towards the end, Mastiff hits up a nasty looking German into the corner onto Nathan Cruz. Cruz goes head first. And I feel like that's what it's supposed to look like every time, but it looks like it just kills the take.
Absolutely.
Dave then goes for the running cannonball into the corner, but Catherine Rose, who is the aforementioned annoying bitch that was talking in the beginning, she gets in the way of Nathan to protect him. Mastiff, in true Progress form, grabs her by the hair and threatens to do something, but Cruz is able to fight him off. They fight to the outside, and inside the ring, Mark Haskins hits Stixx with a pump handle driver, made in Japan, whatever you want to call it, for the win. And they move on in the tournament, and which will culminate in the triple threat match for the tag team titles. So pretty solid opener, I think. What about you?
Absolutely. I think it did it. A good solid tag team match for me always is a great way to start off a pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to start off in a solid way with a lot of beef and big guys with little guys, and it's something to get you really invested for the show to go on. I think what let it down was the heat segment at the start. It just that little bit too long. It wasn't needed. You could save this for after the match. Had it maybe if either you could work it both ways. If you're on the winning team, you go about how you've won. If you're on the losing team, you go about next time you bastards and all this.
Right.
I feel like it could have been done at the end. It's a little tiny little promo like that is a great match to splitter. It's not something you need at the start, but yeah, it wasn't bad. It did its job.
Agreed. But next match we have a natural progression tournament match. This is their second year of doing this. So if you're not aware, the natural progression tournament is basically a bunch of up and comers that are in a single elimination tournament, and whoever wins gets a title shot. Basically, pretty simple stakes, which I like because it allows kind of these new guys to get some shine on. Because Progress, even at this point, is a really well known promotion, a huge promotion. So cool to see these guys get some shine. So we have Flash Morgan Webster versus Josh Bodom. Again, Flash, we've seen him in NXT UK, so a lot of people listening are probably very familiar with him. So it's really cool to see kind of his early stuff. Josh Bodom, I was not familiar with. Were you?
No. Well, ish. The name, I was like, that rings a bell. Why does that ring a bell? So a quick Google search, I found the article, and I was like, oh, yes, that's why it rings a bell. The British media picked up on it. It was a couple of years ago now. He was fighting for Rev Pro. I think it was a spot where it was him and Shaw Samuels in a tag match against two other dudes. And he was on the receiving end of a pinfall attempt, and he was supposed to raise his shoulder at 2, and he was late, and the ref hit the mat for 3. And he legit kicked the fuck out of the ref. He battered the ref all over the ring. Rev Pro had to release a statement saying he's never going to wrestle for them again and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I remember. That's that guy. That's the only thing I remember.
Wow.
I've never seen the guy in the ring, but he has a habit of battering refs. And his opponent, old Flash, he was actually an MC for when I went to go and see Mick Foley a couple of years ago now. There were one-man show. He came to Sheffield, my hometown, did a one-man show, and Flash Morgan Webster was the MC/interviewer. And I'd never heard of him before. Never heard of him. I was like, who's this little Welsh fucker? And then he said he was a wrestler himself. I was like, all right, okay.
Right. That's funny. What a duo. That's never two people that would have paired together. But yes, Josh Bodom, the ref batterer, I guess.
Yeah.
Apparently his nickname is Metal, Steel, and Sex Appeal.
Yes. That's
cool,
quite
right?
the name.
It's pretty cool considering he's I think they said 190 pounds. He looks like a scrawny version of Dolph Ziggler. That's like all I could see. Even down to like the gum chomping. I was like, oh fuck this guy. But I guess that's a good heel. So yeah, this match, a lot of good technical wrestling in the beginning. Started at a kind of a slower pace, but really built up towards the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Love the dynamics. You had Flash, who's the high flyer still to this day. That's kind of his style. Versus Josh Bodom, which, I compared him to Dolph Ziggler earlier, just aesthetically, but even his style was kind of similar in some ways. The more I watched him, though, it kind of, he almost reminded me of like a Chad Gable, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
He seemed like, I haven't really researched him enough, otherwise I would have heard about that ref stuff. But
it was one Google search. It was the first article. I was like, yeah, that's how relevant he is.
Yeah.
No results, no highlights, no videos, just talk sport in England. Wrestler beats up referee.
Oh, I'm sure he loves that. I'm sure that really helps him get bookings. Yikes. But yeah, he seemed like he had an amateur wrestling background. But yeah, really fun match. Like a good chemistry between these guys. I think Bodom was a good base for Flash's high flying. A lot of good suplexes and stuff like that. Kurt Angle-esque stuff from Bodom, I dare say.
Yeah, there was. I quite like the rope hung pile driver that he hit. That was quite a good move, and he hit a lovely German suplex. I was getting Kurt Angle, Chad Gable vibes definitely, especially because, like you said at the start, you had like the technical ground and pound work on the body parts, and then when he had to switch it up and go a bit faster, he could go fast paced. I was like, this kid's all right. I was like, why didn't he take off? And I was like, oh yeah, because they beat up a ref.
That'll do it. That was because I was with you. I was like kind of annoyed at his face. I don't know at the beginning, but he won me over in this match. Like you said,
like I said, I think Morgan Webster was a good enough platform for him to throw around as well. And because I've always linked it to the Brock Lesnar Crash Holly syndrome, where if you're someone the size of Brock Lesnar, any move you do, even if it's a simple clothesline on someone the size of Crash Holly, looks fucking amazing.
Yes, exactly.
You've got the big guy, little guy dynamic again. It works, and like I said, it was Morgan Webster. He can take a German, that's for sure.
I was about that German gave me half a chub, man. He landed like right on his head, but he recovers. Flash Morgan Webster wins this match with a 450 off the top rope and moves on in the tournament. And obviously, he's gone on to bigger and better things, but cool to see him in his early stuff. But so yeah, after that we have Ligero versus Noam Dar. This is so they've had a few matches. They're actually the first ever Progress match.
Okay.
And they also faced off for the title a few chapters ago when Ligero was champion. So this is kind of their third match. I was about to say rubber match, but Ligero has won both their matches that they faced off before. I don't know about you, man. This match felt like it went on forever. Like I don't know if it was like the fans seemed to take over.
I was enjoying it. I was enjoying it up to a point. I'm kind of with you. I was enjoying it up to a point because it was what you want from a cruiserweight match. You had everything, but then I don't know. It seemed to hit. I don't know whether it was like 10, 15 minutes in, where we seemed to hit like a wall where a lot of spots were getting repeated. A lot of spots were getting repeated, and like I think they could have easily shaved a few minutes off it and kept. Because I don't know whether the fans kind of like when they started doing the Imperial March really slow.
Yes,
like the fans got bored
chanting Dar's name in various songs. That's what this match was.
I think that what didn't help for me was at the start I got a weird fan dynamic because you had Noam Dar, who's Scottish, and as an Englishman, he'd get booed out of the fucking building, right? He was trying to be facey, like giving his jacket to the crowd, and then Ligero throws the flag into the crowd, and is he a face as well? Have we got face versus face? I didn't understand the dynamic.
I'm glad you said that because I had the exact same concern watching this because Ligero was positioned as a babyface in the beginning, but he kind of went slightly heel in the middle of his title run, but then kind of went back to face. So he's kind of a tweener-ish, I guess. Noam Dar, like you said, a Scot, was booed heavily in the first few chapters.
Okay.
But he went down with an injury at some point, so he's been gone for several months at this point. So I think they were kind of just glad to have him back, maybe. It was kind of his return to Progress, so maybe that's kind of plays into it. Maybe people are just like, maybe he's just the guy people love to boo because he's very entertaining, like in how he interacts with the fans.
Definitely.
Maybe they enjoy it in that sense. So I'm with you. I was kind of confused on what the dynamic was supposed to be, but I don't know if they called an audible and switched it or if they didn't have a plan. But I think that's one thing that kind of was taken away from this match.
I like if to not to skip too far ahead at the end of the match when he grabbed his jacket back off the fan, he was like, "Oh, so you are the heel then." It was like, it took that long because, as I said, I don't think the fans knew what to react to in a face heel way. Hence, to a point halfway through, they were singing songs and fucking just having a whale of a time. It was Raw after WrestleMania crowd.
Yeah, it really was. I'll tell you when I knew that Dar was the face. The crowd, for whatever reason, was chanting "Great Khali." Big Khali marks in Islington, apparently. But at some point, Ligero goes for his springboard DDT, but Noam reverses with a Khali chop. I love the commentator, by the way, putting over how deadly the most devastating move because it's just an open hand strike to the head and it just kills him. So the crowd from that point on they were all Dar from that point, I think. Yeah, like you said, a lot of crowd chants. Both guys are kind of playing to the crowd. Even like Noam Dar at one point, they're fighting in the crowd, and he like stands on top of the bar that's towards the back, and he's like kind of conducting all the chant, all the songs, Flight of the Valkyries or whatever they were doing.
I think you said, like you said at the start, I think they just threw an audible and they went, "Fuck it, we're just gonna have a bit of fun as well."
Yeah,
at the same time.
I agree. Yeah, towards the end, Ligero hits his C4L springboard DDT, his finish, but Noam kicks out at 1, flips him off, and Ligero tries to hit it again, which, by the way, in their second match, that was the finish. Was the exact finish. So Ligero hit the C4L, Noam kicked out at 1, and then he hit the C4L again for the win. So that was kind of a callback to their last match, which I liked. But this time, Noam has learned from his mistakes and countered the second C4L and rolled up Ligero for the win. So Noam gets the win here, and he cuts a promo towards at the end of the match. Kind of gave me a sense that he's in the Progress title picture now. I think he says he's going to take the Nazi staff, he's going to cut the eagle off and turn it into a lightsaber. Willing to see it. But yeah, Noam wins, and Nazis. Anything else on this match?
Yeah, Nazis. Yeah, I thought it was all right. Like I said, it was for the first, I'd probably say 40% of the match. I thought it was a great cruiserweight match. I think there was some fantastic moves that some moves I'd never seen, or some moves I'd not seen in a long time, and some names. I love a good name of a move. And is it Champagne Super Knee Bar?
Yes,
which is
beautiful.
a great. It's obviously an Oasis track, Champagne Supernova. So that's right. It's fucking great. But yeah, it's just it's a weird one, isn't it? Where the fans fully take over, and if it's one of them matches where the fans are more remembered than actually what goes on in the ring, then you've had a bit of a stinker there, lads, haven't you? Right. Yeah, what is it? Less than a year and a half, maybe. That Noam Dar's ripping it up in the cruiserweight division.
Yeah, not too long.
WWE.
Yeah.
I thought he was great. Yeah, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He was one of the stars, very, very few stars of when they made 205 Live originally into a program. I thought it was the stuff he was doing with like Alicia Fox and stuff like that. Alicia Fox.
There it is. I was about to ask you to do it. You have the voice for it.
Fucking brilliant.
But yeah, like I said, he was in the first chapter, and like he looks like a baby. And he's only 20 years old here, but 2 years previous to he had like just curly hair, and he didn't really look like Noam Dar. He was very scrawny, but in this chapter, he's kind of looks like what he looks like now.
Instantly recognizable. That was
absolutely yeah. And another thing about his promo, he mentioned something about like not caring what contracts come in. He has no interest in wrestling in the States and stuff like that, which is funny considering where he is now, and especially in NXT UK, which I don't know if you keep up with that, but he has like his own talk show. He's very sports entertainment now. It's just funny in hindsight to see him.
So definitely.
Like this.
Hey, mate, money's money, innit? Money's money, and yes, Vince. Yes, Hunter.
Yes,
no
Daddy
problem.
Vince.
No problem at all.
Oh man, but so in this next match we have another tag team tournament match. We have the team of FSU, which is Eddie Dennis and Mark Andrews, versus the Swords of Essex, the team of Paul Robinson and Will Ospreay, a baby-faced Will Ospreay here. I have a question. Do you know what FSU stands for?
No.
Man, I was hoping you did because I didn't research it.
Alexa.
Well, I didn't post, don't worry.
Edit.
But yeah, it's cool to see because they're kind of, Eddie and Mark are feuding in NXT UK now. So it's cool to see kind of their origin story here in a sense. And of course, we all know Will Ospreay and what he's gone on to do. I believe he just won the New Japan Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
And what a hell of a trophy that is. If you're going to take that home in a cab,
right?
Like, fucking fit. Where's that going to go?
Get that on an airplane. Try to do that. Shit. But this is probably my favorite match of the card.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially was it Eddie Dennis? Like for one, apart from Will Ospreay and Mark Andrews from later life, I had no idea who Paul Robinson. Paul Robinson to me is an ex-footballer that played for Leeds United and an actor from Neighbours that had one leg and liked to kill people.
Right.
Which Neighbours is an Australian soap opera. So yeah, I had no idea who these people were. No fucking idea. But I absolutely popped. It did its job for when Eddie Dennis that pulled out the Rey Mysterio mask?
Yes, Eddie Mysterio Jr.
It was fucking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It was like arm drags for everybody.
So good. Yeah, because he's like, what, 6'6", something, maybe even taller, and all the other guys are these little lads. And so he pulls out a Mysterio mask out of his trunks and says Eddie Mysterio Jr. and starts doing tilt-a-whirl head scissors. And
fucking brilliant.
I wanted to see him do a 619, but he got
so did
off.
the crowd. The crowd were going wild for the 619.
Oh man, maybe one day we'll have it.
I hope it becomes a thing. Like at chapter 12, he comes out and he's fucking Kurt Angle, start angle slapping everybody. And I hope it becomes a long running joke.
Kurt Axel already did this.
So did Charlie Haas. Remember when Charlie Haas had that day run of doing it was like Viscera and Val Venus and shit like that.
Right. You're probably almost at that point in your podcast, right? Maybe a year or two after.
Yeah, it won't be long.
Yeah. Oh, lucky you.
Fun.
But no Visagra here. We have a banger of a match. Lots of high flying, even from Eddie Dennis. I mean, Eddie was there to be that base, that powerhouse base. He doesn't look like a strong person, but for somehow he is, because he's tall, but he's lanky, and he still pretty much looks the same nowadays. But really,
he'd make a good basketballer.
He would, he would,
definitely,
absolutely. Don't know what his hops are like, but I would be willing to see it. Not a little bit of shenanigans in this match, lots of high flying, but really great chemistry between both these teams. There was one sequence in particular that made me like jump out of my chair, and you probably know what I'm talking about. It was where Mark Andrews does like a handspring moonsault.
Yes.
But he gets caught by Will Ospreay. Paul Robinson does a spinning kick to Mark, who's on his shoulders. And then Ospreay just tosses Mark Andrews like 3 or 4 feet in the air over his head. Lands with a cutter. Then Paul Robinson does a shooting star press from the ground. I think the way the crowd was popping just amplified it by 100 times of how awesome
I think that it's one of them where you don't want too many of to not sound like Jim Cornette. You don't want all 100 fucking haters in a match where they shouldn't kick out. But I think and also you don't want the match to come across as spot.
Yes.
It's kind of got to flow. It's got to have that harmony to it. It's got to have that chemistry. And I think I think it allows it with a tag team match because you can have two that can rest for a minute and chill out. It wasn't one of them like a Young Bucks match, for example. I cannot stand them two pair of clowns because not one of them knows how to sell a move. They'll take a power driver and then within 5 seconds they're up doing super kicks and fucking haters and that. And I think this is how it should have been done. This was easily the match of the night by far.
Agreed.
Like was it the Dennis who did the crucifix buckle bomb onto Ospreay?
Yes.
And then Robinson low bridges onto Dennis to the floor and then goes for a crossbody. But then he's caught because Andrews comes flying in with a Dragon Rana, and it was like, fuck it. I love them sort of spots where it is high octane, but then everyone salt for a couple of minutes. Everyone actually was like, oh, my arms. Exactly. Yeah. It made sense. Because if that would have been the Young Bucks, fucking Andrews would have come diving in. Already one of the Young Bucks would have been up and he would have been ready with a super kick.
Right. Yeah. They're bracing like up against somebody else, waiting to catch somebody. There was this. Man, that could be a whole podcast in itself. But yeah, like you said, all the spots that the selling was great in this match. It was high paced, but still had a semblance of like storytelling to it. And like the sequence that I mentioned before, the pin was broken up by Dennis, so it's not like he just kicked out of all that, right?
Yeah,
just little stuff like that. It made the match flow really well.
It's got to make it in a world of fantasy and make believe. You've got to try and make you believe without trying to come across like a mark or anything. You've still got to get invested. You've got to think, do you know what I mean? Because that's what makes wrestling. That's what makes it very small category, but that's what makes it a sport. It's your team versus the opposite team. Whether your team in this instance is Will Ospreay's team, where in WWE your team is Roman Reigns' team. So whoever he's fighting against, you're on his side. So when he takes a move, you take the move. When he's kicking out of a pin, you're kicking out of a pin. Where this gave you that vibe, especially towards the end. Suppose, like I said, on the spot that I mentioned, when Andrews come flying in with a Dragon Rana, it was like, fucking, come on, you were on edge of your seat.
Yeah, and man, the way he hit it felt, because he hit it on Osprey, right? And he landed right on the top of his head, and it was like, Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Looked beautiful, though, and it was definitely a believable finish to the match, which it was. So the team FSU wins the match, right? Yeah, FSU wins the match, and they move on to the triple threat at a later chapter, I guess, to crown the first ever tag champions. So good shit all around.
Absolutely.
And, Eddie cuts a promo afterwards. He basically challenges. So he was involved. So the whole thing I mentioned in the beginning, where Jimmy Havoc, he kind of cashed in a title shot. So he cashed it in on Mark Andrews.
Okay.
And Eddie Dennis was ringside, but he was taped to the ring post, which if you listen to his promo, he kind of described it.
Well, that's why he'll say that electrical's tape didn't stop a man.
Yes.
I was like, what's he mean?
Is he just into some kink? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Eddie basically challenges Jimmy Havoc or one of his faction mates to a match at Endeavor, which, are you familiar with Endeavor at all?
Not really.
So from what I've heard, it's like kind of like the NXT to Progress, kind of like a lower level. I don't know if I need to watch it or not. Maybe I'll check it out. But I
feel like it could be an AEW YouTube show.
One of their
AEW
12 shows.
Endeavor. Yeah, I feel like that'd work.
If they hear this, they're gonna steal it.
We're only messing, Tony. I'm waiting for AEW Implosion. AEW.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just another 5-hour show for jobbers to get squashed.
I know it's sidetracking. It's off topic, but right. Yeah, when's wrestling become too much wrestling? I'm sorry. I like me wrestling, and I like me crap and me bollocks and me storylines and stuff. I don't want to watch however many hours YouTube fucking Explosion is or whatever with 18 or 19 one-on-one jobber matches. I don't know if that's your niche and that's your market. Then fair fucks to you, but
right,
you could maybe sit through 2 or 3 matches, but I don't know. I couldn't sit through a pay-per-view worthy content that's crammed into an hour or so, however long it is.
Right. I'd rather go watch a 1994 Raw when that was basically their format. You have Yokozuna squash fucking Matt Hardy or something.
But that'd be an hour, and that'd have 5 matches. Where this is an hour with 45 matches.
Yeah, the optimist in me thinks that maybe they'll kind of work to differentiate it a little bit once fans are back. But I mean, who knows? Who knows? I guess if you just watch AEW, maybe then that's fine. If you don't have WWE, I think that's the thing,
isn't it? There's that much content now. It's hard to not pick and choose because in order to watch everything from there's new enough wrestling on every day of the week. Now to find time, people work, people, do you know what I mean? People have got lives. To find that much time to watch that much content in a week, if you want to keep up with everything from New Japan to AEW to WWE to the English stuff to the indie stuff in America. Like I said, it depends what level of hardcore fan you are. For me, I cannot keep up with fucking, and I kind of choose not to as well. I'm a pay-per-view guy. I'll watch the pay-per-views, and if the pay-per-views don't get me informed of what's been going on in that month with the video packages, then the video package guys have not done their job.
Exactly. And you got, you got enough Maven and Charlie Haas to watch yourself for your own podcast. So it's like, ooh, Jungle Boy. But speaking of too much, we have this next match, Rampage Brown versus Tommy End.
Yes. I was I recognize you.
Slightly more skin, I see, but yeah, good to see Aleister Black. I've said this on past episodes I've done, but WWE is not going to give him to us. Thankfully, we have Progress.
Yeah, it's such a waste. It's such a waste. I don't know if you're keeping tabs. Is it last 24 hours? They've finally released Andrade. And there's many more that you look. War Machine is one that pisses me off. Because you look how dominant they were in Ring of Honor, just how dominant wherever they were wrestling throughout the Indies. And they come to WWE and they give them a stupid Viking gimmick because that's the gimmick without it being a gimmick on the Indies. We look like Vikings. We don't need to tell you we're Vikings.
But you're not going to understand that it's an experience unless they're called the Viking experience.
But yeah, that's sort of like, and the same, like I said, with Aleister Black, they're so much like, it started so well. It started so well. Like, I remember going to SmackDown in Sheffield back in, would have been 2015, 16-ish. And he was performing, and his entrance, the whole arena, man, was singing his theme tune.
Yeah.
And there was so much, and like then on Raw or SmackDown or pay-per-views, whenever he made his entrance, when he came out of the coffin and stuff, and I was like, this could go somewhere. This could be an old throwback, a Gangrel, Undertaker throwback. And then it just, he teamed in with Ricochet, and he went for the tag titles at WrestleMania.
God, yeah, and it's like, dude, he has the look. He's a big guy.
He's got everything. Mate, I'll tell you what it comes down to, and I don't know if we spoke about this before. Vince is a racist bastard. Right? And if that
against
guy,
the Netherlands,
if Aleister Black, Tommy End, if he was from Chicago, Illinois, Vince would be wanking himself into a coma.
Yeah.
But because he's a dirty foreigner, and he's like, what do you mean you don't want to be a dirty heel? Because you're a foreigner, you're a dirty foreign heel. We get an America to fight against you because America.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it takes you foreigners, a good 16 years to become WWE champion.
But that's
Drew
it.
McIntyre, so.
That's it. That's it. But there's not been many face foreigners that have done well in WWE. All the foreigners are heels because it's a dirty foreigner heel versus America.
Hey, you got Bulldog like 20 years ago. You should be satisfied.
Couldn't wait to turn Bulldog heel.
Bulldog
was only getting world title shots when he was that dirty foreign heel against Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, and then he became a denim jeans Bulldog.
Hey, I popped my shit like 13, 14 now and all of those when he suddenly popped up from SmackDown in a pair of jeans. And then like he gave us all a tiny little glimmer of hope where at the Unforgiven pay-per-view in the 6-pack challenge, he came out in Bulldog tights. And then the following week, no, we're back to the jeans.
God
rest his soul, but he was at his dirty, druggy roidiness worst in the 99 run. It's such a shame. It was to see how far he'd fell.
Yeah, it really was. But don't worry, because we have Rampage Brown to fill in the holes for big, sweaty man in the UK. You familiar with Rampage at all? I know he just debuted in NXT UK.
No, not at all. I'm not going to lie. I was expecting, when I saw the name, I was expecting black guy.
Rampage Jackson?
I was expecting black guy, yeah. When I Googled it, I was like, oh, okay.
Well, he's brown, so, everything's on the nose here in Progress, so they kind of give it to you. But he's going to be actually the next challenger for Walter in NXT UK, so if you're not keeping up with that, that would be a banger of a match for sure.
I do like Walter. Walter is quite the beast.
He is. And Tommy End here is also a beast, although I feel like he's gotten so much better since this point in 2014. I feel like he's like so much more crisp and smooth with his offense than he was here. But still early in his run, he just debuted in Progress a few chapters ago, and Rampage Brown just lost the title. So there's like a whole web of things that happened at the last chapter. It's probably hard to, but Rampage went into that chapter as the champion. Mark Andrews won the tournament and asked for a title match right after, in which he got a quick roll-up win over Rampage. So Mark Andrews beat Rampage for the title. And that's when Jimmy Havoc comes in and, slits his throat and sets him on fire and all that stuff, So
Rampage, that good heel stuff.
Yeah, the normal stuff. And then, so Rampage just lost the title, so he's kind of looking to rebound from that. And Tommy End is undefeated at this point. So that's basically the premise for this match. Rampage, he attacks right, the bell rings, and he's already just attacks almost before the bell, dominates for a while, and towards Tommy End kind of starts to come back, knocks Rampage to the outside, and then goes for a moonsault, but completely misses. To be fair, I think it was Rampage's positioning more so.
Yeah, more so, yeah.
Yeah, but he lands right on a fan, at least one fan, maybe multiple fans. But took it like a champ.
You're going home with a memory.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the fans should have sold a little more, but that's just my nitpicking. That's what I would do. I would be holding my neck and all that shit. But back in the ring, Tommy End hits the Black Mass, which is not his finisher at this point. So it's interesting to see him hit it as like a transition move here. He hits the Black Mass and goes for a springboard, but runs right into a clothesline from Rampage, catches him out of midair. And Rampage pins him 1, 2, 3. So Rampage Brown wins the match and gives Tommy his first loss. Really, this match was here. It was an okay match, really just here to kind of heat Rampage back up from losing his title. But yeah, what do you think of it?
Yeah, it was for me at the start. I was like, right, so we can compare this against. Oh no, we can't, because I can't remember last time I saw Aleister Black. To try and compare how far he'd come on. But yeah, there was some good moments. Like there was a good moment towards the end where was it Tommy End who was going for the Hurricanrana and he got caught in a mean powerbomb. And then you had the big lad. Oh, Rampage is throwing himself around as well. I was like, for a big guy, that was the roundhouse kick that he caught, and then he ducked out and then turned it into a big lariat. And I was like, hang on, these guys are moving at a very fast pace for two big guys.
Right.
It was an enjoyable match, definitely.
Yeah, I like Rampage. I'm not too familiar on Rampage, but I love how everything he does is like simple, but it feels effective. Like he feels like he's just a big guy that hits hard.
Oh, there was some mean shots. There was a couple of kicks that rocked Aleister Black, and they were like, oof. It's like when you see some wrestlers deliver kicks, and you're like, how fucking close are you before you're pulling away? Because that looks like it's
hey, as long as we got the 5 slap deal, that's all you need. That's all you need. That's where the impact comes.
Yeah, I walk around my house kicking my missus with a good old 5 slap.
You joke, but I do that too. I do it to my cats as well. Give them little super kicks if they're acting up.
If something's at super kick height, I might take it on.
Oh man, but so we're at the main event. The Progress Championship is on the line. Jimmy Havoc defending his title or defending his staff against Zack Sabre Jr. So you said you've dabbled in Progress. Are you familiar with the staff at all?
No.
You think it's a cool look to have the champion carry around a stick with an eagle on it? Or did you even get that from what he would get? That represents the title. It's not just like a gimmick thing.
No, I didn't get that. Okay, so that's the title belt.
Right, like Rampage was carrying it around for a while. Nathan Cruz was carrying it around. That's the title. That's the title.
That's on par with winning a brass ring in a ladder match.
Right. But yeah, I think that they eventually have a title belt. I hope it's soon, for the love of God.
No, I wasn't. I'll tell you what, I was familiar with, though, our special guest referee for tonight. Another dirty bastard.
Party Marty Skrull. Oh man, because I only knew him as the villain before all these Progress shows I've been reviewing, and it's just he's like progressively getting closer to what the villain is. But even now, he's just the like he has the
Party Marty,
the Zubaz pants or whatever.
Well, I remember Marty Skrull way back when. Are you familiar with Wrestle Talk?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but back in the day, they used to have a TV program over in England.
Oh, really?
It used to air on when Impact, or when it was TNA, when that aired on Challenge. After that finished airing on a Sunday, they'd air half an hour, 45 minutes Wrestle Talk, and it was various British indie guys that were being interviewed. They were talking about WWE stuff, but they would show like just still images, obviously all copyrights shit and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Occasionally, if there was a tour, they'd get an interview. Like I think they interviewed Angle and RVD, but Marty Skrull was one of the presenters. Mm-hmm. So I was very familiar with him. And then, I don't know, he seemed to disappear off my radar for a long time. And then he came back on my radar with the Bullet Club in New Japan when he was the villain and stuff. I was like, oh, that's fuck off. That's the guy that used to present Wrestle Talk.
Right.
And then, obviously, the entire sort of the popular Yankee Bullet Club members, they've all gone on to bigger and better All Friendly Wrestling. But old Party Marty's had too many parties, and now he's fucking Dirty Marty.
Yeah, he's see, he was in NWA for a bit before they took a hiatus. but I guess he's.
And it's from what I gather, like, don't get me wrong, I don't really keep in tabs much with the British indie scene, but I've not seen his name pop up that often. I feel like I've seen Joey Ryan's name pop up more since the whole thing than seeing Party Marty's name pop up.
Yeah, well, he didn't he was involved with Ring of Honor. I don't know if he. Oh, I don't want to say he owned it because I don't think that's the case. He was like a head writer. He was some high management position in Ring of Honor for a bit, but I think he recently, just within the last month or so, left. And yeah, like I haven't heard anything.
Nah, that's done.
But,
yeah, done to go and work in a warehouse.
Yeah. Man, but so Marty at this point, he's in a tag team with Zack Sabre Jr. And that's kind of the so Jim Smallman, who's the owner, like I mentioned earlier, he got attacked by Jimmy Havoc a few chapters ago, and Jimmy's just been kind of running roughshod over Progress, really kind of just taking it over. And so that's kind of his way of neutralizing him, is by making Marty Scurll Zack's partner, the referee.
So the title belt that Sabre came out with, was it the GHC Junior?
GH, yeah.
Has that got anything to do with Progress, or is that a different? No. I didn't have a clue, and I was far too lazy to Google it.
I believe it's Noah in Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah. That's their one of their tag team titles over there. I hope I'm not wrong, but if I am, then I'll edit it in post. I'll make it like you said it. But hang on. We'll
have a quiet moment. I'll move my mouth. I won't say anything, and you just edit in the audio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're probably right on that one. There's no way you'd be wrong. No way you'd steer me wrong. So my first bullet here is lots of cunts. There's from Jim Smallman, from the crowd, from Jimmy Havoc. The crowd does not like Jimmy Havoc. I believe there was a chant, "Fuck you, Havoc." It was like a "Fuck you, Havoc. You're a cunt." You British people know how to have fun. Oh man! But the match gets underway. They fight in the crowd for a little bit. Jimmy keeps trying to use a chair, but keeps getting cut off. Zack kind of takes the advantage. They fight towards the ring apron, towards the turnbuckle post. Zack goes for a roundhouse kick, but misses and goes foot first into the post. Sounded brutal. Crowd really popped for that. It looked really good. At that point, Jimmy kind of takes advantage, starts working on the knee of Zack. So solid psychology there. Yeah. Hits him with like a what do you call it when you take somebody up? Like not an atomic drop on the knee. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was it. There was a lot of folk like he did the single leg crab, the figure four leg lock. It was, for me, a Jimmy Havoc that I'm used to seeing. This was so out of the. This wasn't right. I went. This was like, this isn't Jimmy Havoc. This is a watered down WWE Jimmy Havoc. Where's the thumbtacks and the barbed wire and the fucking cut yourself, you wanker?
Yeah, he eventually goes, because like I think the first time I saw Jimmy Havoc was, again, we keep bringing up AEW, but it was like in one of their first pay-per-views when he like was stapling shit to Joey Janela.
Yeah, if you're gonna wrestle that CZW dirty, ruthless, barbed wire, hardcore style of match, you've got to have something a little bit wrong with you. And Jimmy Havoc, he's a wrong on various levels.
Clearly does, and that kind of plays into the whole storyline. Right? And I guess that's why it's so great, is because that at his core is what he is. That's when he has the most success. Which is why when he had just normal wrestling matches in the beginning, few chapters, he would lose every match. And he's kind of like turned and kind of blamed it on the crowd, blamed it on management, and that's kind of where we're at here. So good storytelling from that aspect as well. Jimmy Havoc continues to work on the knee. At some point, Zack goes for a roundhouse kick onto Havoc, but he ducks and Zack hits Marty by accident. And then after that, Zack locks on an armbar, I believe, and Jimmy Havoc taps out. But there's no ref to call it, so the match continues. I forgot to mention earlier, there was a fun spot where Zack did a flying arm bar like on the stage, like amongst the crowd. Yeah. It was so cool to see like such a technical move just in the middle of this nonsense. Oh man, but so Marty's down. Havoc then hits the go home driver I know it as the Dude Buster from WWE.
Yes. That's exactly the same.
Basically just a reverse pile driver. But he hits it as he's about to hit it. One of the security guards that's out there slides in the staff so that Havoc hits that pile driver onto the staff, the eagle of it. So I guess one of the security guards is a crooked. He's in cahoots with Jimmy Havoc. Apparently he's a guy that's been training like in their school. I guess Jimmy Havoc trained him. Jimmy Havoc goes for the pin. I believe Marty recovers at this point. He goes for the pin, but it's a 2 count. Jimmy Havoc is none too pleased with this, so he hits Skrull with a Death Valley driver. And then, so Skrull's basically out of the picture at that point. And then Havoc, at this point, grabs a mic.
This is brilliant. Grabs a mic, stands on Sabre's bollocks, and demands that Smallman gets in the ring.
Not the bollocks. But then he's very, to the point. He says, "Hey, Smallman, get in here, call the match, or I'm going to kill him." And so he just chokes Zack Sabre Jr. across the throat. A really good sequence. Zack, there's a few times where Zack tries to fight out. They do the whole gimmick where he lifts his hand and he drops it, but he fires back up, and they do that a few times. Zack even gets to his feet at one point, but ultimately he is not able to escape the chokehold. And Jim Smallman calls for the bell, awarding Jimmy Havoc the victory, and he retains his Nazi staff. People are throwing trash in the ring. God, such a good heel, this Jimmy. I mean, I know, and apparently in real life he's a heel too. But
a fucking brilliant.
So I guess it comes natural to him. But shit, man, pretty good match. Is pretty solid. Great character stuff from Jimmy Havoc, and I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of them where it's hard to not look at it for what it is. Like you've got a ring full of wrong-uns here. Mm-hmm. But if you can strip that element away and actually enjoy the wrestling, it's like Chris Benoit, where it's for a lot of people, they can't go back and watch a Chris Benoit match because they can't take themselves away from what he did in his real life. And that's why I imagine a lot of people can't go back and watch a Jimmy Havoc match or a various fucking long list of Joey Penis Face and all sorts of guys that were quite literally fucking wrong. And it is disgusting. I know we laugh and we joke, but it's absolutely fucking disgusting what half these guys did. But again, to try and fucking play devil's advocate, phenomenal wrestler, phenomenal entertainer is Jimmy Havoc. And it's one where it's going to be hard how this is going to come across, but I just say it as it is. Right? I think hardcore wrestling, violent wrestling, it misses a Jimmy Havoc these days. Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like Jimmy Havoc could have done wonders for AEW.
Yeah.
Jimmy Havoc on mainstream TV could have done wonders, but will we ever? Who knows?
That's what it is. Yeah.
It is what it is.
Like you said, he's such a unique character. So you don't find Jimmy Havocs all over the place.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And like I said, this whole match with the dynamic of deep down inside, I'm a dirty bastard. I want to get thumbtacks out. Where's my barbed wire bat? But I where you got this other side of him, this ground and pound, this technical pick a body part, work on the body part, like I said, with the various leg holds he was putting on, and just the various. For me, it was weird seeing someone that I'm so familiar with being a right horrible bastard, being now quite this technical. Oh, I could probably see it through a decent 20-minute Jimmy Havoc match.
Yeah, no, absolutely agreed. I think he has. Because understandably, not everybody can compartmentalize that, which is fine. But for whatever reason, me and you can just enjoy it for what it is.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of good storytelling in this match, and the show as a whole. I mean, that brings the show to a close. I thought, it was a very easy watch. I mean, these progress shows, there's so much talent. There's a lot of familiar faces that we see nowadays on a bigger stage.
And that goes on as well. Like, I remember a Skinny Finny match, Finn Balor versus, I think it was Zack Sabre Jr. I think that's chapter fucking, I don't know, 74 or something like that.
Right.
So I know they're now on chapter 111, 112 or something along them lines.
Something like that.
Yeah. So it's for mad to think that this was only 2014. So we've gone quite a few chapters in a quite a a short period of time. But through that time, you've had so many guys that have either used it as a stepping stone or used it somewhere to develop their own character, then be at top level there for a few years. Like Jimmy Havoc wrestled on the UK indie scene for many a year. Many a year. I've got a funny Jimmy Havoc story for you. As we're on camera, it kind of works. I'll get a bit closer. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
right. So I've got a scar there that runs across.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
was drunk, slipped over in the garden, fell, and I had like 7 stitches in my head. There's blood everywhere. Guess what T-shirt I was wearing the night of that incident?
A Jimmy Havoc shirt.
A Jimmy Havoc shirt.
President already have blood on it.
I'll have to. Well, it did. I'll have to. I've still got the picture. I'll send you the picture.
Please.
So I'm sat in A&E. So I'm covered in a bandage, covered head to toe. But my blood from my face has now gone into the blood on the T-shirt, and it just looked like I'm one whole big drop of blood.
Right. That's hardcore, brother. You should.
That was it. That was it. It was like, well, any other guy, if it was either it was going to be a Jimmy Havoc or it could have been a Sandman shirt. Anyone else, because them two guys, or New Jack, because he's one who's like, New Jack. Alarm goes off in the morning. He's like, "Where's my razor blade? Ready to start the day."
Another murdery bastard, that New Jack.
Oh, he's a fucking. That's an episode in itself. New Jack is a wrongin' on so many levels.
That'll be the next episode.
New Jack career retrospective. Oof.
God, man. But
how are you coping? By the way, how are you coping with the lack of content on the WWE Network at the minute?
Oh,
how's Peacock? Because we're still loving life. Nothing's changed for us, but how's Peacock? Because for doing what I do with my Ruthless Aggression and stuff, I use the network for Raw and SmackDowns, like historical Raw and SmackDowns. If they take that shit away from me, I'm fucked. I'm just gonna have to wing it.
I think it's gone until I think August. They're gonna bring it back, I believe, which is like, damn. But yeah,
It's where they're still asking for the same amount of money. Well, is it a little bit cheaper, a buck cheaper or something?
So there's an ad version that's cheaper, but if you want ad free, it's the same price. It's fine.
Ads through pay-per-view.
What's that?
Ads during pay-per-view.
I don't know. Oof. I'm not sure how they do it with the live stuff, but I know it'll be. I wouldn't think during the live stuff there's extra ads. I would assume like if you're watching stuff that's archived, it probably has ads.
Like it is with YouTube, I imagine, where it'd be unskippable and stuff like that sometimes.
And I've heard, because I haven't signed up for Peacock yet, because I think it just became, the WWE Network just became inactive like a few days ago.
All right, okay.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna have to like find it on YouTube but right now, like where I am in like the Attitude Era, it's kind of like skippable kind of stuff because we're after the invasion. It's like that weird period between the invasion and Ruthless Aggression, so I could probably get away with just watching the pay-per-views for a little bit. And like 1994 Raws, like when am I gonna fucking watch Yokozuna squash guy? Like how many of those can you watch?
I think that's the thing. I've always said I'd love to actually see the results and the actual stats and the data from how much like visual views that Raw from 1994 gets. Do you know, a random episode of Raw that's not even in between a pay-per-view. There's nothing hyped. I wonder how many hits that gets a month.
It's probably just me.
Yeah,
and you're in the mid 2000s, and I'm elsewhere.
I get bored. I go to Mrs. What shall we watch? I was like, let's watch 94 Raw. Let's see what fucking Quang and Doink are up to.
Why is that your go-to? You're trying to watch the Bushwhackers beat up some jobbers?
Hey, bushwhacking's a whole different thing in my house.
Well, when you get to that point, that's false advertising. But that's all I got, man. Progress Chapter 11, fun watch,
definitely
easy watch, and but if you want some Maven, if you want some Charlie Haas, you want some schoolgirl battle royals, check out my boy Dave on the Ruthless Aggression Era Podcast. Where can everybody find you?
That is it, the Ruthless Aggression Era Podcast, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the Katie Vick of the Ruthless Aggression Era. RA Era Podcast is all you have to search for on all the platforms, wherever you get your podcasts. Come over and say hello.
Great podcast. Definitely check out our Velocity and Heat episode.
Absolutely.
Banger of an episode.
Absolutely.
No, but yeah.
And yes, definitely get you back on. with, I know we spoke about it, but I'm struggling to find the links for our current time period. Daily Motion is not helping.
Maybe Peacock will get that figured out. They'll finally get the whole library on there.
I got so excited when they said, they're bringing Heat to the network. It's like, yeah, but you're starting with 98 that no one gives a fuck about. I need 2004 and I need it now.
I don't want to watch S.A. Rios, goddammit.
Hey. No.
I mean, I do, but like...
We do, but for later, for all the wrong reasons. That we want to watch S.A. Rios for the reason why S.A. Rios isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah.
But we want to watch, who's that sexy redhead with that tattoo doing moonsaults?
That's not Lita. It's not Lita.
No.
It's S.A. Rios. But on that note, I think we'll get on the train out of here. We'll get on. It's not going to be a thing. It's not going to be a thing.
It's a bad. In the space of 2 weeks, we've had Braun Strowman covered in slime, and we've got Braun Strowman with train noises. Like, I can't wait for next week. Like the gimmicks of Braun. Can't wait. Do you know what? WrestleMania, they're going to announce Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon, hog pen match.
Ooh, this guy. Get this guy a pen and a book. This guy should be booking the territory over there. But yeah, I mean, shit. I'm going to tune in to see what ridiculous stuff they do every week. That's for sure. I guess that's the goal, right?
Absolutely. That's why else? What else is there to do than spend 3 hours watching fucking Braun Strowman run around the ring? That's what you want from your wrestling.
Somebody enjoys it.
Ratings,
Somebody
what?
enjoys it. Who? What? No. Throw out some slime in there.
Peacock. We don't need ratings. We've got peacocks.
Give him those shitty little gloves and a tight t-shirt. Braun
and
over.
panties.
Braun and
Needs more
panties.
steroids.
But speaking of steroids, I got nothing. But
I got nothing. I got nothing as well.
Thank you to your bulldog physique self. Thank you for coming on, man. It was a fun time.
Anytime.
Absolutely. Once again, thank you to Dave from the Ruthless Aggression Era Podcast for joining me on this episode to do a little recap ski of Chapter 11 in Progress Wrestling. So much fun. Always love having him on. And like I said, go check out his podcast. All the info in the description. You can find it on SoundCloud, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check him out on YouTube as well. I mentioned before, but he has clips from the shows that he reviews. Really makes it an awesome experience to let his Sheffield, England voice trample over your eardrums. So go check that out. And man, apronbump.com. If you've just recently discovered me within the past couple weeks, couple months, and you enjoy these progress reviews, go to apronbump.com, go to the episodes tab. You'll see a progress tab. Click on that, and there it is. There are all my progress wrestling reviews, all the way from Chapter 1 till now, and we are gonna keep rolling, baby. I can't speak enough to how awesome Progress is, and look forward to doing more reviews in the future. So go check that out. And make sure you're subscribed to this podcast. Subscribe and follow me on all social media. And I hope you find some progress in your life, huh? I'm running out of progress puns. Thank you guys once again for listening. I'm hard.
It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you